So like I mentioned in episode 0, I never planned on being a filmmaker for a career. I just barely dropped out of the pre-medicine track and was trying to figure out what to do with my life when I met a man named Ryan Abeo, who is a hip-hop artist from Seattle, whose music I had loved. We kind of met on Twitter. I went to one of his shows with my camera, took some pictures, sent him a tweet of a gallery. He DM'd me and said, hey, this is really great stuff. We began talking. And before I knew it, he was over at my house for dinner with my wife and kids, and we were discussing what we could do to make a music video, just something for fun. He didn't have any sort of budget or any funding at the time. I was trying to figure out what I was doing next, and I had a little bit of time and money, and I said, well, let's just create something awesome. Now, I had never actually made a music video before, but I had worked in TV. I'd done enough advertising type work when I was in college, and I felt like I could make something of high impact. And so I believed in myself and said, I think I can do this. Rule number 1, fake it till you make it. This is not just in media, this is in everything. If you believe in yourself, you're going to find yourself with opportunities that are beyond your skill level. But if you believe that you can achieve them and you work hard for them, you will find that you rise up to that level and you're going to do great. Now, the difference, however, the critical difference between faking it till you make it and being dishonest is you should never lie about your credentials. I was very open with RA Scion, this rapper, about the fact that I hadn't done a music video yet. I showed him everything I had done. He felt good about it. He felt like it was comfortable. And so he knew what he was getting into. So I just want to clarify the big difference between faking it till you make it and misrepresenting yourself. So moving on. Ryan, RA Scion, sent over the song when it was ready. It was a very different style than his other music up until that point. I had been a big fan, and I wasn't sure what to do with it. So my process is I'll put the music on and I'll just listen to it on loop, maybe 300 times. And every time I'm listening to it, there's a different version of the music video playing in my head. I focus, I let my imagination run wild. I listen to every aspect. I try to just wrap my head around it. I'll type up the lyrics often. I'll read the lyrics so that I experience them in a different way. I'll listen to the song on headphones. I'll listen to it in my car. I'll listen to it in my home stereo, on just phone speaker, on different types of headphones, just anything possible to hear it in a different light. Because sometimes hearing the song in a different way gives you different types of inspiration, different things jump out at you. And so as I'm listening to it, each time there's a slightly different version of the vision that pops up. Maybe the first time is totally different from the second, but eventually it starts to narrow down. And certain themes and patterns begin to emerge. And so I kind of pin those in my mind and I'll type them up. I'll write them down on paper if I don't have a phone or a keyboard near me. And then with successive times listening through, I'm just filling the holes of what I haven't yet identified. And I'm constantly revising and refreshing and thinking about how my current framework of a plan compares against what I'm visualizing at that given moment. And basically, I just obsess over the song. Sometimes I'll do this for a day. Sometimes it's like a week. I'm obviously doing other things at the same time, but while I'm exercising, while I'm driving around, while I'm trying to unwind at home, I'll just throw on headphones, put the song on loop. Sometimes I'll totally space out and not really focus on it at all, let my mind wander and see where it goes. The process is usually about like that for each music video I've made, but there are always modifications within them. Sometimes the idea jumps out at me right away. Sometimes it takes a really long time to discover it. So once I had an idea, I typed it up. I pitched it to Ryan. He really liked it, but he also had a lot of suggestions and ideas. He kind of riffed off of me and said, well, what if we tried this? And what if this represents this? And how if we add this on? And I came back at him again, and we had a great collaboration process. This doesn't always happen. Often with music videos, the artist really has a strong investment in how they're portrayed and what type of stories they're telling. But sometimes musicians are just really overloaded, or it's just not their medium, and they say, you know what, I trust you. Yeah, that sounds good. Let's move forward. So it kind of depends on the project. But this one was 100% a collaboration between the two of us, and it was super cool. The whole concept was based around this idea that there was a crystal that represents truth and art. And then these bandits come and try to steal it because they want to give it to their evil queen. The theme is obviously tightly wrapped up with the commercial forces in the music industry that affect the creative process and the distribution of music. I don't want to over-explain it just because I believe that art should speak for itself, but if you take that framework and watch the video, you can watch it and come to your own conclusions. Ryan kind of plays two characters in this one. One of them is this figure of justice who calmly and steadily pursues the bandits as they frantically make their way to the queen. The other character is the queen's advisor. This is a more interesting character to me. who's sort of a royal bard and soothsayer, and he's explaining the world as he sees it, trying to sway her opinion with his words. During this time, I'd been reading a lot of ancient Celtic, like Bronze Age mythology, Irish and Welsh particularly. And so this version of the character was patterned after Taliesin, the Welsh mystic, poet, prophet, who is central in the Mabinogi and a lot of the those Bronze Age Welsh texts. So anyway, a little bit of geekness happening there. The queen in this is played by Madison Abeo, who is Ryan and Mary Angela's daughter. She was like 14 when we made this. She's in her 20s now. She's a professional ballet dancer. She's amazing. I think that she's been in almost every music video that Ryan has made. And I also ended up hiring her to either act or dance in a number of my other projects. She's awesome. You'll see her elsewhere in my work. The throne room and a lot of the dancing footage was all filmed at a cheap warehouse space in Seattle that we found. Most of it was lit with just a handful of lights that were inexpensive to rent and quick to set up and take down, just because time is money and both were extremely tight on this. The circle that I made where the b-boys, it's kind of like a dance circle, you know, at a party and people come in and come out. I wanted to create something like that, but a little bit more abstract and visually striking. I couldn't mount the camera directly above like I wanted to, so I basically got the highest access point in the rafters that I could, mounted the camera there. It was at a slight angle, and then I like skewed the corners so that it looked at least a little bit more like it was straight overhead. And then I had a theatrical Fresnel light that was like a super wide focus because it wasn't very high ceiling, and I put that up and focused it so it had a very hard edge on the floor. So we saw the texture of the cool kind of grimy floor, and then there's just black outside of that. So the Fresnel was right there and the camera was pretty much next to it. And we got some great footage out of that, both above and from the side. And then for all the throne stuff and Ryan's footage with the queen, that was all shot with like cheap tungsten lights from Home Depot, like work lights. Some of them were literally like the metal half dome shop lights with just a normal bulb in them because that's all we had budget for. And I didn't really have any a kit at the time that I had built up. The throne itself has kind of a cool story behind it. We'd been looking around for some sort of cool throne for Madison to sit on. And Mary Angela, who produced this, who's Ryan's wife, had been looking all over thrift shops and antique stores and prop houses trying to find the right thing. I'd been looking all over too. We hadn't found anything. So suddenly the day came and we had to shoot. And my plan was to just have Madison stand there and look regal, like standing in her throne area and, you know, call it a creative compromise. But as we were setting up, we noticed that in the space we had rented off in a side closet, when we were looking for something else, we found this throne that had been used for some sort of theatrical production at some point and was just kind of left there. It had been collecting dust and they just hadn't thrown it out. So we asked permission. They said, oh yeah, we need to get rid of that. You can use it all you want, no problem. So it was perfect. And I'm absolutely thrilled with the way it looked. Most of the rest of the video was shot in the industrial area near the warehouse that we rented. We spent maybe 3 or 4 hours staging the quick scenes and the moments that we needed. And then I sent the dancers home, spent another hour or so filming more lyrics with Ryan on the street corner, and then we called it good. Editing was thankfully pretty quick on this one because I had a vision going into it. Often if you have a strong vision in the writing process, it makes filming a lot more streamlined. It makes editing a lot more streamlined. And that doesn't mean that things won't change and be modified along the way, but if you have a strong starting point, then you're really clear where those changes are. It makes it way easier. Now, obviously, this isn't always possible or practical. I've definitely had to do kind of more run and gun shoots where we just spray and pray and we film all sorts of random footage and we try to put something together afterwards. And it usually ends up being a mess and wasting everyone's time and being really frustrating. Not always, but that's usually what happens. So thankfully, this one was pretty streamlined. This music video had kind of a cool release associated with it. Ryan had a show coming up at the Showbox in Seattle, which is one of the bigger venues. A large audience was there, and so we showed it on a projector during the middle of his set. You know, he introduced this new project and said, hey, you know, we're excited to see this. It's going to be on YouTube tomorrow, so make sure to share it. And everyone got really excited, and it was awesome to be able to see on my first music video exactly what moments worked with people and how people resonated and they're all kind of drunk and they're all excited and everything. So everything's amplified, but it was still a really cool way to gauge their audience response. Most of my videos, literally, I just click send to the client and then they upload it. And, you know, I show it to a few friends, but it's cool when you're able to have an experience like that where there's a big premiere and a big debut where it feels special. And it definitely helped with the marketing the next day because all the people that had been at the concert were looking for it. And when Ryan posted it, they shared it. They said, hey, we saw this last night. It was super cool, yada, yada, yada. And it got a fair amount of traction for what it was, an independent local music video. This is pre-Macklemore days, so, the hip-hop scene in Seattle was medium-sized, but it wasn't huge. Partially because of all that traction, we ended up getting write-ups from Seattle Weekly and The Stranger and the Seattle Post-Intelligencer, and most of the major news outlets talked about it in their arts sections, and won some recognitions for music video of the year, or hip-hop music video for the year in Seattle. Not a huge thing, but, some of these other types of top 10 lists and recognitions like that, which kept viewers coming in. And for me and my job, because I had done it for free, it ended up being a tremendous portfolio piece that led to a lot of paying work later down the line. So another big principle is if you ever do free work, make sure that it's worth it to you. If I were independently wealthy and had infinite energy, I would go around just making music videos for people and doing cool art projects because I love it. And I wouldn't charge anyone anything because I would do that. But I'm not independently wealthy and I'm trying to pay my bills and feed the family. So you got to do what you got to do. So things like the reach of your videos and using something that is a free effort more as a paid investment into your career, into your demo reel, into your network. Those sorts of things are extremely valuable for a career. And, Ryan, in the years following this, and still every time, he's constantly throwing out my name and recommending me people and sending work my way. So he's been a huge ally in this. There might have been other people that I could have done this same video for who wouldn't have been as appreciative or as grateful and wouldn't have passed the word along. And those people would not have been good investments. So try to read the people who present opportunities for you. And if it's something that's cool, if it's something that you feel passionately about, that you think could help you in some way in the future, could make the world a better place, go for it, even if it doesn't pay well. Because you got to do the stuff that you enjoy, otherwise you burn out pretty quickly. So anyway, that's all for today. I'm not going to say please subscribe and like the video because I hate it when people do that. So I look forward to posting the next one, and this is going to be an interesting series. Thanks for watching, guys. Faith when the depths gate forest through the porous of the plan is taking regions the plan. Use the forest, hold the land for safekeeping. One explorer told me surgical procedure yields a wellspring. Tell them bring reinforcements in for developing. You will not to fret for the compensation given in addition to the acquaintances. Redemption through religion. Gather